The hunter lifted his head and peered over his rifle scope. He didn't see if he had hit his target in this waning light, but he sure would be disappointed if he missed. It was hard to miss a buck as large as the one he sighted. He rubbed his eyes. It had been a long day. He didn't usually stay out in the woods this long, but he was intent on not finishing the day empty-handed. He rose from his prone position and started looking out for the trail. He found a large blood splatter. Considering the amount of blood, the deer couldn't have gotten far, so he set out, following the tracks. He didn't get the best look at the animal before the shot, considering the poor visibility, but he did at least clearly make out the massive antlers it had. In fact, they were abnormally large. But in his excitement about nabbing such a big buck, he didn't think much more of it. He paused for a moment to study the trail, and something didn't look quite right. A typical blood trail leaves spatters of blood across the ground, but this deer had left long sweeping tracks of blood, with the earth and leaves beneath it visibly moved, like it had been dragging itself. Brad's neck twitched as he felt a shiver shoot down his spine. His gut felt uneasy, but he shook it off. Just the dark and fatigue messing with him, he thought. He followed the trail down a steep slope. The blood hooked back around the bottom, leading into a natural alcove. He stood at the opening and stared into the pitch black for a moment before clicking on his flashlight. The alcove looked about 12 feet long, with a dead deer laying right at the back. He chuckled to himself, in relief no doubt. He had nothing to be worried about after all. His relief, however, was short-lived when he noticed the deer did not have any antlers. This wasn't right. His eyes grew wide, and his heart froze when he approached. The look on the deer's face. He never would have thought a deer could make such an expression of terror. Its throat was left gaping open, as it looked like it had been almost completely torn out. It was missing one of its back legs, and a large chunk of its rear. This massive wound had dirt and leaves sticking to it, like it had been dragged. Brad heard something moving up behind him. It all dawned on him in an instant. This dead deer and its blood trail was set up as a lure. He had not been stalking a deer. He had not shot at a deer. Whatever the hell he was trying to shoot was a lot smarter than that. And Brad had walked straight into its trap.
Please leave your message